believe, but it was still January when Donald Trump fired the inspector generals, 18 different government agencies. He fired the inspectors general illegally because, among other things, you're not allowed to fire an IG without giving Congress 30 days notice before you do it. One of those inspectors general was this woman. Her name is Phyllis Fong. She's the Inspector General for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Phyllis Fong is a nonpartisan technocratic official. She was appointed by President George W. Bush more than 22 years ago. She has served under Democratic and Republican presidents ever since. But when Phyllis Fong learned that she had been fired along with all the other inspectors general, she, like everyone, I think, recognized that the announcement of her firing was illegal on its face. And if an announcement is illegal, you might reasonably conclude that it's therefore non-binding. Therefore, the day after Donald Trump announced that she and 17 other inspectors general were fired, Phyllis Fong nevertheless showed up for work. She showed up for work the next day just like she had done for the past 2 decades. According to Reuters, Ms. Fong said her firing was not legal, and so she was going back to work. Initial reporting said they then bodily escorted her out of the office. USDA then disputed that and said, no, she left of her own accord. Either way, she didn't make it easy for them. Her firing really does appear to have been blatantly illegal. So she did not accept it, and she still showed up. We're seeing other stories along these lines, individual acts of showing up or speaking up throughout the federal government. When Trump ordered federal agencies to get rid of any references to gender ideology, whatever that means, and demanded that federal workers must resign en masse or else, one administrative judge at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission sent an email to the new Trump-appointed acting boss of that agency, and she CC'd pretty much everybody else in the building on that email. The email included a reference to the president's top campaign donor, Elon Musk, the wannabe occupant of Mars. The email said, quote, "These tactics you are employing and the actions you have taken are illegal and unconstitutional. Quote, if upon reflection you feel like now would be a good time to take a vacation and resign from your position, please reply all to this email and put in the subject line, quote, I'd like to occupy Mars." The acting head of the EEOC apparently did not do that. Nevertheless, credit for the question. Humor, determination, showing up, speaking out. Tonight we have with us 2 of the high-ranking, big-deal government officials who have thus far stood up to Trump and what he's done. First, we are going to speak with Ellen Weintraub. She has been a member of the Federal Elections Commission since 2002. She has chaired the commission 4 times. This week, President Trump attempted to fire her. Ms. Weintraub responded in a post on Twitter, quote, "Received a letter from POTUS today purporting to remove me as commissioner and chair of the FEC." She said, quote, "There's a legal way to replace FEC commissioners. This isn't it. I've been lucky to serve the American people and stir up some good trouble along the way. That's not changing anytime soon." Joining us now is Ellen Weintraub, chair of the Federal Elections Commission, who Trump claims to have fired. She begs to differ. Commissioner Weintraub, I really appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here, Rachel.
Why do you say this firing was not legal?
Well, if you look at the Federal Election Campaign Act, there is nothing in there about removing FEC commissioners other than in the normal course, which is you can replace them when their terms have expired by appointing a new commissioner who gets confirmed by the Senate. That's the way you replace FEC commissioners. There's nothing in there that says, or if the president doesn't like that particular person, they can just be fired.
So now that the president has sent you this letter purporting to remove you, but under terms in which he's not legally allowed to remove you, I imagine that you consider yourself to still be a commissioner. But how does this get settled? How do you plan to move forward here?
Well, I'm still considering all of my options at the moment, but I will tell you that my email has been turned off, my computers have been taken, my pass, I believe, no longer gets me into the building.
When you say your computers have been taken, meaning removed from your office?
Well, I think they're still in my office actually, but I can't get into my office anymore.
I see. Do you think it is Trump's intention to dismantle the FEC in a fundamental sense, to rebuild it in his own image? I mean, we've seen him wholesale fire all different kinds of officials that he's not allowed to fire. Some people are suing, some people are trying to show up to work anyway. You say that you're considering your options. Do you have an understanding or even an informed theory as to what you think the end goal is here?
I really don't know. At the moment, there are still 4 sitting commissioners, so there is a bare quorum. There is supposed to be 6, no more than 3 from any one political party. It's supposed to be an independent, bipartisan commission, and the chairmanship rotates from one party to the next every year. The Republicans always get the election year, and that means the year after the election year, there's usually a Democrat who is in the chair, and it just happened to be my turn, and I was duly elected by my colleagues, and that's why I should be still sitting in the chair. But right now, there are still 4 remaining commissioners, so he has not disabled entirely the commission yet, but this is not the way an independent agency is supposed to work. This is not the kind of agency where, unlike many other agencies in government, he doesn't get to come in and immediately put in his own chair of the agency. That just isn't the way the place was set up. It was designed by Congress to ensure against political machinations that would interfere with the running of the agency. And that is why Congress set it up, so that if a commissioner term has expired, they can stay until they get replaced by another commissioner, so the seat doesn't go vacant. And that gives the Senate an opportunity for advice and consent. In this case, since mine is a Democratic seat, it should give the Democratic leaders in Congress an opportunity to weigh in on who they think ought to be sitting in the seat. And it has never, in the 50-year history of this commission, we're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year, this has never happened before.
It's never happened before, and there's been so much partisan fighting over the FEC, and there's been so much like bad faith fighting over the FEC by various political factions over the years, and other circumstances in which I have interviewed you on television about those shenanigans. But this is something that's never happened before. You know, if he does remove more commissioners, if he is trying to disable the FEC, can you explain to our viewers in plain language what that would mean if the FEC effectively went away, if he was able to shut down the functioning of the commission?
The FEC is the agency that was designed to follow the money and give the American people transparency about who is funding political campaigns at the federal level and what they do with that money. And if the FEC can't do its job, then the public is left in the dark. There is already too much dark money in our system, and without an FEC, there would be even more. Basically, all of it would be dark, and there would be no one out there to enforce the law. If they leave the staff in place, they can keep the database up and running, but the staff is not capable under the law, without the commissioners there, of enforcing the law in a meaningful way, in any way at all, if somebody violates the law. It's a law enforcement agency, and the law ought to be followed. The agency needs to be there to enforce the law, and the laws ought to be followed in the ways that the commission is constituted.
Ellen Weintraub, chair of the Federal Elections Commissioner, longtime commissioner on the FEC. Ellen, I don't know, as you say, you're keeping your options open in terms of how you plan to move forward here now that the president purports to have fired you by means he's not allowed to fire you by. But please keep us apprised and come back to let us know what you decide. Ellen Weintraub, chair of the Federal Elections Commission, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us.